How many times do I gotta say this? So Netflix's live action Avatar: The Last Airbender has come out, and though I haven't watched it in its complete entirety, I have seen enough of it to know that I don't need to see any more of it. And this is something that I've sort of been silent about for a while, but I mean, it's not like I'm the first person to voice this opinion, but at the same time, this one is the one that has broken me. Not in the sense of emotionally, but just, I need to talk about this. When it comes to adapting something that was first done in animation and then doing it in live action, stop. Now, of course, me just saying this to the average person telling them to stop, like, obviously, you're not the ones that need to stop it. It's the big companies, you know, Disney, Netflix, Amazon. Because before we get too deep into it, I know the real reason why these adaptations are still a thing to this day is because, cha-ching, take a beloved animated classic, do it in live action to recapture those memories and everything by adapting those well-beloved scenes into live action, except suck all of the soul and love that made those things iconic out of it. And then, yeah, you get these. Now, the reason I'm mainly doing this on here and telling you guys to stop as well is because if we stop watching it and stop giving it a chance, then maybe they'll stop. They won't. At the end of the day, this is just a venting video. My main question I want to ask, and if this applies to any of you in the comments, let me know. Who is this satisfying? What very niche market of people is this marketed for? I'm sure there's people who have never seen the animated Last Airbender, which if that's the case, I feel so sorry for you, because you missed out on a childhood and are still missing out on one of the greatest, not just animated, but just stories ever told. And honestly, I could see it more for maybe a elderly audience, maybe someone from more like, you know, my parents' generation of people who never really watched too much animation growing up. They get something more out of the live action stuff. But then I ask the question when it comes to Disney's reimagining of their animated properties in live action, because is there anybody who's gone to see those movies who hasn't watched like the original Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty? Like, is there anybody? Like, I will admit, I'm one of those people who has such a strong nostalgia for the original cartoon. I mean, I say one of those people like there's only so few of them, like one of most likely millions of people. I mean, I can give praises to this live action adaptation for at least putting attention to detail. But then again, that's the bare minimum for what I'm expecting for an adaptation like this. That's a requirement. The characters should look how they look. They should at least sort of sound like how they would sound. Events should play out as they did, and you know, not M. Night Shyamalan's live action. But I'll at least argue the M. Night Shyamalan one, at least it's still remembered to this day. Like, I'll never fucking forget Sokka, and the fucking like 12 earthbenders doing a whole bunch of fucking movements to move a singular stone. And when it comes to this new live action, I'm going to forget it by this time next month. If anything, probably within the next couple weeks, I will forget about it. I forgot it was even coming out. Like, I made a video reacting to the trailer, forgot about it immediately. That is a hard thing when adapting a cartoon, is because when you have a cartoon, a lot of things are much more expressive, larger than life. So how do you really translate that to real life? The answer is you don't, because you can't. Because if you try to act like a cartoon character, it's going to come across as cheesy and weird. And something I've said forever is because in live action, it probably wouldn't work. My biggest gripe with this stuff is just, you're taking something from animation to live action. Okay, so when you're doing that, you expect it to feel like something that would be in our world, even though obviously it's not. But then you run into the biggest thing of, okay, how do you put a flying six-legged bison in live action? The answer is, you don't. You CG it, because there's no way you can make that practical. Same with a flying lemur, or airbending, firebending, waterbending. So it's like you're taking something from animation, putting it in live action, and animating it anyway. If anything, it would be harder to do it that way, putting it from 2D to 3D. When it comes to the Disney like animated stuff being put in live action, I've watched and been in live productions of those musicals, and those have felt more like, I'd say, faithful adaptations of those things. While people will probably argue with me about it's still like good or whatever, a place I can see this work is, you know, you're someone who probably grew up on the cartoon, like me. If you maybe show it to someone like your parents who probably have never watched it before, they might enjoy it. Showing it to someone who knows nothing, I'm sure there's probably a plethora of reaction series being put out right now where they're titled Watching Avatar The Last Airbender Live Action Without Watching the Cartoon. And I'm sure just by me saying that and the Google algorithm being what it is, always listening, I'm sure I will get that at the top of my recommended the second I open YouTube later. But I'll at the very least say that when it comes to live action adaptations of anything animated, be it, beloved cartoons or anime especially, I mean, the One Piece live action was apparently pretty good, but again, I'm not watching that because I've never watched original One Piece. I mean, I've already been someone, it's like whenever there's a live action adaptation of something animated, I'm just like, I'm waiting with bated breath because trailers are always made to show you the best parts of whatever it is to get you to watch it. Whenever it turns out to be shit, I'm not gonna say I told you so, but either way, this was just a quick little rant I wanted to make because I hate this shit. And apparently the live action has already been greenlit for the final 2 books, Earth and Fire. And you know what? Go for it, because at least they'll get farther than what the M. Night Shyamalan movie got. But either way, let me know what you thought about the live action Avatar down in the comments below. And if you actually really enjoyed it, then I'd love to know what else in life you enjoy, because I'd love to cross-reference and see what kind of person you are. But thank you all for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.